And we're back here in Toronto, Canada for the U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout, and we've got ourselves an exciting game in the Open Division. USA facing off for the semifinals against Australia. USA, a rematch of this tournament, beating Australia in pool play pretty handily. Australia, though, getting it back together later on in the tournament, finishing third in their pool before advancing through the quarterfinals with a win over Austria. We'll have to see if they can give a better effort this time around. Really, it was just a shellacking from the USA in the first game we saw earlier, very early this week.
That's right, Brian. The Australians unable to get anything going with their handlers, looking unconfident with the disc every time they had it. But having solid performances since then. They've played an extra game. They had a 4-5 crossover game. Excuse me. Was incorrect there. Did not play a 4-5 crossover game. Instead, I was thinking of the quarters game. Happened yesterday. Australia with a commanding victory.
And USA going to start on offense. Hart finding Klein. Zone from the Australians, trying to slow down the pull plays, which have been great for the United States. Very smooth. Brown back for Mickle. We haven't seen Mickle go downfield all that often. We know he can. Staying back as a handler, especially with all the weapons. Freistatter. Misha Freistatter, 6'8" from UCF, finding Klein. Mickle with the out route. Mickle going deep for Johnson, gonna float. Johnson gets a hand on it, can't reel it in. Contact on the play, but no foul called. A little bit different to what we just witnessed. Letting them play a little bit physical. Freistatter with the bid. Tollett trying to strike deep.
That one fading quickly out of bounds.
For Ashcroft. Gets it in for the goal in the first break of the game. Australia off to a significantly better start.
Indeed, and wonderful put by Tollett. That one looked like it was almost surely going to sail out of bounds, and at the last moment turns over, stays in, allowing Ashcroft to jump this one in. And he's thinking it's going out of bounds, so he's jumping with his momentum going from right to left on your screen towards the out of bounds area. Has to change it midair, get back in. Australia with the 1-0 lead, the break to start the game.
You know, it's Tom Tollett putting it deep for the Australians, playing in Junior Worlds in 06, 08 in the U23 team in Florence. Also playing for the mixed national squad, the WUGC in Sakai, Japan last summer. The Australia team making it to the finals before losing to Canada mixed. Offense back in the field for the U.S.
And the Australians, a country in international competition that has really come on strong, seemingly always finishing in the minimum the quarterfinals, often in the semis, if not the finals at events. Credit to the Australians for elevating their level of play and devising a style of play that is almost unique to Australia. Very physical and very big and strong.
Mickle, overcast sky here today as Mickle puts it in the brick, and wind. They're going slightly upwind with a little bit of a cross diagonally. Mickle and poaching here from the Australians. Johnson just trying to find the right hole. Camp. Him and Mickle have had a great connection thus far. Fitting it in. Mickle finding Johnson. Johnson to Hart. Now looking for Mickle. Shoulder fake. Puts it up to Hart. Has to go up and grab it. Greatest attempt, tipped in the air. Can't come down with it. Freistatter was right there. Would have been a spectacular play by Hart.
And great effort by Hart. reading the defender was coming in hot. I knew in order to catch that disc inbounds, he was going to have a wide open lane. Didn't have it, so goes with the greatest.
Hang putting it up deep. Johnson there gets up, doesn't read the play, and a giant grab in the end zone.
And this is not the Australia we saw last time these teams matched up.
Chuck Lee coming down with it, 2-0. Australia trying to shock the world. And this would be the biggest upset we would have seen in this entire tournament. I think the only other one comparable would be Venezuela actually making it to semifinals in the mixed division. Taking down a giant like the United States. Anything short of a gold medal here for the U.S. would be underperforming.
And the Venezuela team, interesting, you bring it up. We'll talk about it real quick. Interestingly, that they're in the mixed division. They initially planned on coming with open and women's teams, had some visa issues last minute, so combined, and that's paying off really well for the Venezuelans. Back to this game, though, U.S. down 2 breaks early. Not where they want to be, Brian.
USA has not been tested in the open division since the first half against Germany, where they found themselves down 9-8. We'll be doing Germany versus Canada in the next round today. Australia with a lot of energy. Ashcroft getting down on the pole. Liu, Byron Liu out of Emory finding Hart. Camp. Bode. Nobody attacking the middle of the field for the U.S., just leaving it wide open. Now finding Camp. Morrissey out of Colorado here with his teammate Mickle. Inside to Liu. Putting this one, floating it for Frood. Frood hanging back there with Broad. Too far. U.S. not able to put one in.
And Broad getting the extra D on that, throwing it into the beer garden back there. Two-handed smack. And I'm not a big fan of the smackdown D. Prefer the catch in a situation like that. You never know what's going to happen. He's in the back of the end zone, though, so really not going to have much impact. But always the rare chance, if you do go for the block down D rather than the catch, that you're going to pop it up and allow the opponent to make the devastating second chance grab.
Australia with all of the energy. USA coming out a bit flat. Eng to Stewart underneath to Ashcroft. Quick flip. Mazaret. Ashcroft. First goal of the game. Looking for Tollett along the sideline. Tom Tollett putting this one deep again for Ashcroft. Gonna have enough time. Ashcroft makes the catch 2 yards outside the end zone. Australia looking for a 3-0 lead. Looking back for Stewart, finding Tollett instead. Ball on the play.
And Tollett just rifling him deep as soon as he catches it, looking to go downfield. And effective so far. They're stacked very deep there right now.
Tollett has the hammer open. 2 people there for the score. Atkins, 3-0 Australia.
And a markedly different Australia team. So much more confidence right now. A lot of it coming from the handler position, able to move the disc and feel like, yes, we're going to get the disc to where it wants to go. Last time, it felt like they were having trouble just getting 10-yard passes off and losing confidence in that. We've talked a lot about confidence this tournament. The U.S. taking a timeout, restore their confidence in the team. We're going to take a quick timeout, too. Be back with you for the rest of the first half of this matchup between the U.S. Australia 2013 U23 World Championships.
And welcome back here to Next Gen Network's coverage of the U23 World Championships here in Toronto. I'm Brian Jones with Kevin Minderhout. And no, that's not an incorrect score to start things off here in the Open semifinal. Australia is up 3-0 on USA. USA reeling early on, just not showing up, coming out rather flat and making bad decisions down the field, while Australia has relied on Tollett and even a huck from Eng to build this 3-0 lead.
And the pace of the Australians is absolutely blistering, not taking a moment anywhere on the field, whether it's a 5-10 yard pass or the huck. The question for me, Brian, is can Australia keep this pace up for 17 points? It's a long game here. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Australia coming out with the initial sprint. We'll see if they can extend it, but they're going to have to settle into a pace that allows them to win this game, because as soon as the sprint stops working and you try and keep doing that pace, it gets away from you really quick.
Veteran line out here. O-line needs to crack the case for the United States. Mickle, Toner, Freistatter, Brown,
Smith,
Johnson, also Kelson Alexander, Mickle, Alexander.
Australians coming down in the zone look.
Spreading things out, finding Johnson. Brown. Toner.
And now not into man. They still have a floater in the middle of the field. Everybody else going man, though, leaving Johnson wide open. Mickle finding that hole.
Alexander. Toner. Freistatter. Johnson. Looking back for Smith. USA looking a little bit better here. Mickle trying to take over. Brown just can't make the grab along the sideline. A little bit of nerves here for the USA, trying not to make a mistake. They have to get that confidence back and just do what they know how to do.
And they'll get it. A lot of these guys have been in this situation before. They've played so much that them finding their confidence, to me, not the issue. It's more of, can Australia keep up their confidence?
Eng threw a deep one earlier.
And right now, a lot of reasons for the Australian team to be confident, especially if this one's successful over the much bigger Freistatter.
Goes up and gets the D. And you can see there, physical play being let go. Both teams going at it. Freistatter with the basketball background loves the contact in the air.
Well, and Frey initiating the contact, he can't really be too upset when Freistatter comes back with a little bit of his own there. Freistatter was cleared out of touch with the left arm, but Frey came in bumping early on, which is exactly what he had to do, because he wasn't going to get that disc in a 50-50, let's go up for it together matchup.
And if you're Australia, though, you got to find a way to keep shooting. Maybe that wasn't the right decision with Freistatter, but that's what's been working for you. Finding Johnson underneath. Smith. Dishing to Toner. Still no soft zone here as Australia. Little handler gains allowed. Freistatter trying to pull his legs out from under him for the score. And rule the goal. USA gets on the board. And there's the energy we see, and we hear a little bit of noise from the crowd.
And the semi-awkward leap by Freistatter here. The belly flop score, getting it started for the U.S. I talked about this earlier, Brian, and when you're going up against the better team on paper, probably better team on the field, as Australia is right here, you have to play a perfect game or near perfect while having the other team make mistakes. That throw to Frey on Freistatter, you can't make that if you're trying to go 100% and perfect during this game. You got to recognize that's Freistarter out there. He's got 7 inches on the thrower that I'm throwing to, and you have to holster that one. You have to find the balance between aggression and smart choices.
Now, when you go into that, Kevin, you talk about that a little bit. When you're talking to a team, do you tell them to play the perfect game, because then they're worried as soon as that mistake happens. And you talked about that confidence they can't lose.
Yeah, you definitely talk about what you're going to encounter. You have to talk about the fact that we're going to have to play really hard, and we're going to have to bring it. You don't say 100% perfect, but you say 100% effort. And that goes with decision-making as well as going up and making plays.
USA with the pull goes out of bounds. We'll see the first time the D-line out in the field. Hart getting some more play time. We also have Matt Bode, Justin Allen. Bode usually harassing handlers. Justin Allen liking to take the taller receivers. He's found himself in the end of a couple of skies.
And you can always tell who the U.S. is most concerned about by watching where Bode is playing defense. Right now they've got him on the number 7, Loki Wise.
Underneath, Honey McCollum. For Wickrama. Call on the play. Pick called. Lou giving him the space. Looking for the around. Finding Chudes. Delgado. Chudes. Pick called on the play.
Here we see a lot of confusion in the stack. Australians want to settle it down. They don't want 4 cutters at once. They want 1, 2 maximum working in unison as a team together.
Wickrama. The around. Giant around. Finding Broad. Call on the play. Australia having a hard time keeping their stack neat. Running into a lot of pick situations. Broad. Put this one out to space. Allen giving chase. Allen with the giant layout. Gets it back for the United States.
Allen just absolutely flying through the air there on Mazaray. McCollum. McCollum unable to get that through Allen's defense. Mazaray, I was thinking, he was one of the bright spots for the Australians last time they met, going up and making those plays in the air. Those are the ones you're going to need to come down with when facing the uphill battle. Now the U.S. a chance to break back. And you hear the Australian captain on the Australian coach on the sideline yelling to the Australians, you need to set the tone. They set it early. It's just keeping that tone going.
Toner out to Morrissey. Will this stay inbounds? Morrissey trying to toe the line. Ruled out. Couldn't squeeze that one in.
I expected a greatest attempt here from Morrissey, but I think he didn't know he had Liu behind him. Thought he was alone. Did the best he can with the full extension there, just outside the tape.
Liu on Wickrama. Bode bidding right into the back. No call. Australians giving the physical play and allowing it happen.
One, that's the Australian style, is to have that physicality. So when it comes back at you, you can't get nitpicky about it and make calls.
Bode to Morrissey for the goal. USA within 1.
Yeah, USA already a quick 2 of their own in response to the 3-break opening by Australia. Australia's going to want to make sure they get this one in a style that's sustainable. Probably not going to be the shoot deep as soon as you get the disc. It's going to have to be about good choices, open guys downfield, open cuts under, and really focusing in.
(3-2) USA over Australia. Excuse me, 3-2 Australia over USA.
And the energy already dying down for the Australians. Very easy to see how that can happen. As I was talking before the previous matchup between these two teams, I was talking with a couple of the players, and something that is very much an issue is having to deal with the names of a superstar like Mickle or somebody like Camp, these well-known players, and you have to go out and you have to match up against with them, and you have to believe that you are equal in ability to them.
Wise puts this deep, but gonna hang. McGinn can't reel it in. Quick flip for the goal. Broad finding McCollum. And I don't think Australians are going for sustainability at the moment, although it's worked thus far.
Not at all, Brian. And I'll give a little bit of luck into any good upset. Some luck helps, and McGinn just unable to read that early enough. He was turning around, had his hips to the disc, was either going to get it at the apex of his jump or was going to go over his head, and over his head is what it did. Australia stays in the lead, 4-2. They're up 2 breaks, starting this game on defense. The number 8 seed overall in this tournament going up against the number 1 seed, USA. A big mountain to climb, Brian. And if the last meetup between these guys was any indication, we were totally wrong. As the team we've seen today from Australia, much different, much more confident, and setting a much more aggressive pace against the U.S. squad.
Mickle back to Hart, leaving the middle wide open in the field. Trying to come out almost in a side stack. Finding Johnson. These set plays really would have been the bread and butter of the United States. Hart on the sideline, force flick. Finding Klein. Morrissey. Hart going deep with Camp. Morrissey holstering, finding his teammate Mickle. Freistatter getting open, but bumped on the mark here. Looks like a travel called. Discussion going on here. About to get restarted. Mickle. Looking back for Johnson. Johnson looking for the around, finding Hart. Freistatter to the break side. Hart. Looking back for Mickle. Lefty backhand goes up. Mickle makes the catch, no problem. Foul called on the play. Mickle looking for the around.
Mickle, one of the best in the air, just a big, strong body, able to keep his defender away from him. So even though it's floating, you know he's going to come down with it. Being guarded by Mazare there. A big, strong young man is in his own right, capable of making big plays.
Hart. And back to Camp. Camp to Johnson. Johnson, Hart up line, lays out, can't make the catch. Back to the Australians.
Great opportunity here to get another break and get their pace and tone established in this game.
Stewart. Australians going deep to Tollett. Hart trying to make up for it. Tollett in between a crowd. Wood back to Tollett. Tollett looking for Stewart. Goes for the hammer. This one's going to float, but go out of bounds. Back to the U.S.
Amazing grab by Tollett going up between Mickle and Hart. We'll take another look at it here. And Mickle from the backside, that's where he likes to attack these discs. The disc just coming down, not floating as much as either defender thought it would. Mickle preparing for a big jump there. Never got a chance to do it.
Mickle finding Camp underneath. Camp forced to go back around to Hart. Speed of the game picking up here for the U.S. Bump on the mark. Johnson plays through. Hart. Klain. Klain looking for Camp, has the room. Klain just too far with the wind. U.S. going down with this point in time. Not too much there, just enough to push it out of bounds. That throw's got to have a little bit more edge on it.
We've seen a couple out of bounds throws already. That side of the field, the wind is picking up left to right on your screen. Not enough to really impact throws, but enough to add a little more speed when you didn't expect it. Klain coming out for Bode. Klain playing mostly offense for the U.S. Bode, standout defender. As I mentioned earlier, you'll normally find him on the matchup that the U.S. is most concerned about.
Stewart to pick up for Australia. Mickle discussing defensive matchups downfield. And Tollett underneath. Hart over pursues on the huck. Tollett not able to get it off. Nazare, Stewart. Stewart for the around. Ladamatos. Tollett.
Tollett just looking deep.
U.S. respecting that. There are open cutters coming in. Atkins to Tollett. Freistadter reading the play, comes in, makes the D. Mickle tries to transition. Morrissey flips it back to Mickle. Morrissey. Johnson underneath. Mickle up the line, instead goes to Bode. Puts that one up there. Matt Bode makes the catch in the back of the end zone. Calling himself in.
Matt calling himself in. Nobody apparently calling him out, but nobody celebrating either. Can't see the feet there. Try it from this angle.
Prime opportunity for Australia to get a break. Instead, U.S. able to hold. Johnson going with the more difficult throw.
Tough to tell on that last replay, but the players worked it out. U.S. 3, Australia 4. Australia still up 2 breaks. Freistadter doing a great job reading the Australian offense, relying too heavily on Tollett. Decides that he doesn't really have to guard his man backfield. Comes in, snags the D, gets the U.S. the disc back and the score. U.S. within 1. Pulling upwind. Australia going to need to keep the pressure on And really what they need to be thinking about is how can we build on this lead, because we're going to need it later in the game. The depth of the U.S. roster is going to have a lot of fresh legs they can throw at them for the full 100 minutes or 17 points, whichever we reach first.
Ball goes out of bounds. U.S. defense back on the field. Olsen going to take the mark. Chudes. Horizontal stack. Actually 5 deep for the Australians. Underneath. Broad putting this one. Middle of the field. Lou can't get up. Right in his hands. Miles McCollum. Those are the type of mistakes Australia just can't make in this game. USA going the other way. Toner with the disc. Out of Virginia, playing for Ring of Fire and Club. Front of the stack goes deep. Looking back for Alexander. Good movement. Finding Olsen. Back to Alexander. Finding Brown. Brown goes low. Can't make the catch. Back to Australia. Wise. Going to leave the disc. Australia's going to run the end zone offense. Chudes.
Short field here. Always look first for a quick flip, and then for the offense to go in motion.
Allen bidding on the back. This one's good. Australia able to maintain their lead. Fighting through. Delgado with the goal.
As I mentioned, the Australians needed to be focused on how are we going to extend our lead? How are we going to get more breaks? You need to be very forward thinking. Never rest on your laurels. Stay aggressive and focused on the goal, 1 point at a time. The Americans saying exactly what they need to say. A lot of game left. We're only down 2 here. We've got a lot of talent that goes deep into our roster. And we've got a lot of experience, a lot of big-time experience, international players. Collegiate front runners. I don't think there's any lead too big for the U.S., and the U.S. knows that. There we see Phil White with the pull, coming down with a roller.
Zone from the Australians yet again. Klein able to find Brown. Freistadter. Brown out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
And Brown missed a wide open Colin Camp. Still unmarked, been unmarked since the beginning of this point.
Hunting Johnson along the sideline. Wide mark. Back to Mickle. Forced to go all the way around to Hart. Beautiful throw by Hart. Be around to Klein. Brown. Flips to Hart. Trying to look break side. Hart, one of the top 5 Callahan vote getters this year in the United States College Series. Throwing into a poach is Klein. USA not able to clean up the offense thus far.
Phil White there with the D, staying way off of his man. He managed to hide behind Hart. Klein doesn't see him.
White. Lee. Latamatos jacks this one, looking for the score. Camp is there. Catches it with ease. Camp. Hart. Finding Brown. Freistadter going. Klein. Putting this one out for Johnson. A lot of space. Going to make it an easy one for the U.S.
And the U.S. getting a much-needed completion going in that direction, left to right on your screen. Having a little bit trouble early on overthrowing those ones. But Johnson just too open. U.S. back within one. And if Australia could have stolen that one from the U.S., they would be feeling really good right now. Now still feeling good. Got out to that early 3-0 run on the U.S. U.S. got one back, but have been trading since. And the Australians need to think about going on another mini run here. A pair, 3, one at a time, not going to be enough for them. They need to break this game up into little chunks of aggressive sprints, followed by stability, followed by another sprint, wanting to keep a step ahead of the U.S. every single time.
Australia needing to play to win and not play to lose. Not to lose, excuse me. Nobody wants to play to lose.
Wouldn't be the most fun game to watch. Sometimes, though, you do play to lose. Take, for instance, the matchup we saw earlier today, but take it back to Thursday when both teams knew they were 3-4 or 2-3, and it didn't matter which way they played out, so they didn't necessarily play to win.
Wickrama finding Broad. Broad has a matchup he likes. Smith giving chase. Chudes coming in and gets hacked from behind. Smith over the shoulder. I think this one is a legitimate foul call right off the bat.
Laurie in the vicinity as well.
Closer than I thought.
And Smith with contact of the disc, but also a whole lot of body there. Having to go through the Australian Chodos in order to get a play on the disc. Contact was made after Smith gets a piece of the disc, but putting a whole lot of body into Chodos. Going to be some discussion. I expect this one to come back. Contested foul. It's a hard one to make for the player who is the receiver. He's focused on catching the disc, and he feels contact almost simultaneously with the disc being knocked by the defender. Very hard to get that one right.
Broad trying to look deep. Miscommunication. Allen reading the play the whole way. The receiver clearing out Broad, looking for Delgado. USA with a chance to tie this one up after being down 3-0.
U.S. with a chance to chip away at the Australian confidence.
But Laurie with the overthrow of McGinn. And USA just not executing early on, and that's why the Australians, partially the reason why the Australians are in this game. And as you said, for a major upset, you need a little bit of luck, and you need the other team to not execute well. Australia able to get back to a 2-point lead. Chodos fitting it in.
Bode unhappy with his teammate Laurie, letting it be known not the way to get back in it if you're the U.S. Got to stay supportive. And Australia with the little flip pass. That's twice now the U.S. has had turnovers on the goal line, and it's been very easy for Australia to convert those. The Aussies calling for a timeout. wanting to make sure that everybody understands the game plan as they've got it written up. I think that's a good choice. Say to your players, this is where we're at, this is where we need to be. We got to focus on breaks, we got to focus on defense and keeping the pace up. It's going to be a long game. We're only 6-4 into a 17-point game. So whatever happens, it's going to have to be sustained. And we've been talking about that from the beginning. The Australians, if you're just joining us, went out to a 3-0 lead on the U.S. All of those breaks, the U.S. able to get one back. And since then, we've been trading out. Australia looking to get another set of breaks. And if they could pull off 3 and get into half 9-4, that would be
wishful thinking, I think.
Wishful thinking and unexpected, but no more unexpected than the 3-0 start by the Australians. And if they want to pull off an upset, that's a great path towards it. You don't want to get into a situation down the stretch where you're playing a neck and neck game, because you have to favor the U.S. in that situation.
I also think, though, if you're the Australians, you're playing with a nothing-to-lose attitude as well. You came in nervous the first time. You had a bad start to your tournament, and then they advanced through, getting the 3 seed out of the pool, defeating the 2 seed from Pool B, Austria, and pretty handily, I might say. Right now, things are working for you. You got to maintain that confidence you're talking about. If you're the U.S., you really got to get that swagger back. Right now, they've just been making some uncharacteristic errors. The wind is around 10 miles an hour, maybe 15 at times. Not that much today. Shouldn't be impacting the throws of the U.S. that much. Seems like a much more mental aspect. Time up at Australia.
And Tollett really getting a feel for the wind there. Put a lot of grass up, getting the read he wants, and gets a pretty good pull from it. Not super far, but giving the Australians plenty of time to set up their zone, which has a strong junk element to it.
Really, it's a 1-3-2-1 with a wall. Americans break it pretty easily, Camp. Australians, though, committed to staying in this, and maybe also just trying to slow down the pace of this game so the U.S. just can't strike quickly. You know, the United States have not been able to be very patient, and unlike some of these other teams, they don't have the chemistry, but they've been developing it all throughout the week. Morrissey finding Brown for the score.
And I think it's time to go away from the zone and shift back into a more up-tempo, person-to-person defense. Hart dicing through it with the hammer over the top. And the easy goal by Morrissey to Camp, who was lurking.
Overcast skies today here at the U23 World Championships at York University in Toronto, Canada. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout. Semifinal matchup, Australia versus USA. And a little picture there of the wind. You can see right now US will be pulling pretty much directly into it. Australia going downwind. Should not impact the throwers at this level.
Not enough to affect throwing. We are seeing zones, but not for the reasons of the wind being so stiff. Not trying to get the traditional zone turnover, which is just the math on short completions is lower. So you want to force them to make lots of throws, banking on a turn. Instead, trying to disrupt the U.S. handler offense Mickle set to pole. Famous early on in his career for his ability to pull discs. He's still got it. Lots of distance on that one.
Wise, high release backhand. Allen back there with Delgado. Allen with the D. Justin Allen out of Ring of Fire. Plays college for App State in North Carolina. Really been one of the top deep defenders in the United States this week. Toner picking up the disc on the cone. Vertical stack for the U.S. Love the motion from the front of the stack. This time centering to Mickle. We see clear out. Toner for Wolf. Calls a foul. Said he had it in his hands. Delgado was there.
Take a look at it on the replay. Wolf going up, and almost identical situation to the play we saw earlier with Smith going over the back of, I believe it was Phil White. Gets the disc just prior to contact, but has to go through the body of Allen in order to get that. This one stays with Allen.
Back
with Wolf, excuse me.
Mickle. Back to Toner. Finding Allen. Smith going deep. Toner. Finding Mickle. Mickle put this out for Allen and or Smith. Allen with the catch. USA ties the game back. Australia still up one break. USA finally getting going on the D-line. It's had their opportunities. Mickle cashing this one in.
The crowd getting into it. The USA chants. And this is the danger zone if you are Australia. We talked about being able to sustain that pace that they started off with early on. And very difficult when you're so reliant on a huck game against a team like the U.S. that is so big and strong and athletic, that you need to be able to complement that with a whole lot of technical action around the disc and a strong team contribution. Australia capable of doing it, but going to have to go on some sort of run because they're not going to win this game trading out from here.
Would be a tough task.
Mickle with a great throw there. He loves to huck those ones flick. If I'm Australia, I might think about a backhand force when Mickle's on the field.
Brown with the pole. Stewart. Mazaret. Ashcroft. Flick force. Boosting it, looking for Tollett. Brown giving chase. Tollett goes up early. Laurie gets it back in his hands. Laurie. Frood. Call on the play.
And Tollett going up early there, indicative of the tremendous amount of respect he has for the U.S. defenders. There was a collision in the stack at the right of your screen. They've sorted that one out. Frood getting the disc back into play.
Frood looking for Hart. Laurie back. And the around to Camp. Saves the day. Champ. Back for Hart. USA trying to get this game back in serve and regain the lead. Brown goes to the end zone. Frood can't hang on to it. Hanging his head a little bit. Allen jumping on the mark. Kiefer Tullett. Call on the play. Tullett being forced flick. Stewart. Tullett. Give and go. Allen read it correctly. And a miscommunication gives USA the disc on the goal line. Hart running past, assessing the situation. Flips it to Laurie. A round was available, and now their own miscommunication. Laurie's second mistake and turnover of this game. Wind starting to pick up. Australia heading directly into it. Throws really haven't shown signs of being too affected.
And this wind does not bode well for the Australians. It was really a major factor last time these teams met.
Drop right there for the Australians, gives it the disc to the USA on the goal line.
And the Australians, you got the impression they just didn't feel that comfortable throwing in the wind last time.
Laurie, foul called on the play.
Masai keeping his mark close. Laurie feeling the contact, wanting to go around. And very hard for Masai to contest that one. You saw him on the replay there, leaning his chest into Laurie's shoulder. That's an illegal position. Excuse me, Mazare.
Looking back for Hart, Laurie flips it, Frood. Laurie. Hart. In for the goal, but a call on, it looks like a travel on Laurie. That would have given back the U.S. the lead here in the first half. Laurie.
Mazare just really too close to Laurie, not giving Laurie his pivoting space. And so Laurie forces the issue when he comes through, and Mazare calls the foul.
Laurie flips it. Frood for the goal. Jay Frood out of Missouri gets it done for the U.S. Back up 7-6.
And back on serve. This is where the contact call that the USAU organization has been experimenting with is very nice, because you don't have to stop play and you can back that marker off without losing any advantage for your own team. The U.S. up one now on serve. They started this game receiving the disc from the upwind direction. Australia was able to break early 3 times in a row, but as of late have not had very good offensive production. They're now going to need some heroics from their big-time players. Tullett, one special individual of note. He was getting it done early with his hucks. Had a nice sky early on. But can he and the rest of the Australians continue to play up to the level of the Americans.
Allen with the flick pole. Chodos looking backfield. Oh, Broad. This one, sliding grab inbounds. Wise making the grab. Marked by Bode. Wickrama. Australians looking to strike. Back to Wise. Delgado. Chodos. Oh. On the field. Bode tripped up.
And once again, the U.S. going to that Bode on Wise matchup. U.S. no doubt has watched the film. Zeroed in on Wise as a key guy to shut down.
Bode getting the D, coming in between O and Rise. USA continuing their run. It's down 6-4, down 3-0. Alexander looking around, putting it underneath the elbow. Bode wanting to find his former Ring of Fire teammate, now to Toner. Smith, Bode on the goal line. Flat mark from the Australians. Flip over the top. Another flip to Bode for the score. Bode with the double happiness. Puts the USA up by 2 and a chance to break for half.
And the U.S. exhibiting really good stack discipline until the last moment there. Bode with the D. And there you saw a little bit of clogging around the disc. Still able to come down with it, get the score. That one, a break for the Americans. Now up 4 breaks to 3 breaks by the Australians. And it's only a 2-point game, but it's not looking good for Australia.
You see a top D line out here for the United States. Byron Liu, Kevin Brown, Brian Hart, Matt Bode, Ben Pruce, Tim Morrissey, Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith coming in on the scene after his fame-making layout against Revolver in the finals last year in the Club Nationals in Sarasota, Florida. Went on to play still has years left with Texas A&M and play on with the U.S. All-Star team at the Dream Cup in Japan.
And Smith, one of the several players on the U.S. squad that did not pick the game up until arriving at college. A lot of these U.S. players, though, been playing since their high school days, some of them as far back as middle school. The youth programs in the U.S. really developing, and you can see that in the skills and the talent level across the board.
Deep but low flying pole. Gives it to the Australians, a good field position, but on the ground. No confusion there in the travel call. Play does not stop going. Deep for Tollett. Morrissey chasing from behind. Tollett reads it correctly for the goal. Gets it in for the Australians, 8-7. A little bit of confusion there. Mazaret grabs the disc, rolls along, gives it to Stewart. Morrissey and Liu both have the incorrect read, actually come into each other and cancel their efforts.
And that one, the reverse of the play earlier, where Tollett went up early and the U.S. defender stayed on the ground. This time, Tollett, learning from his past mistakes, has patience and waits for the disc to come to him, doesn't try and do more than what he's got. And that's exactly what the Australians need to do. They need to not try and overextend you know, they have to play 100% within the game they have. They can't play, you can't play a bigger game than who you are. So you play the game that your team has and you play it as well as you can. And if there's enough errors by the U.S., you have a chance at the game.
Right now they do have a chance, but still a long second half to go, no matter how this one turns out. Important score for them, though, to maintain at least a 2-point deficit going into half. You want to stay close. But we've seen teams here try to challenge, and they've really got to come back and be able to counterpunch an effort from the other team. You're not just going to go and lead the whole way, especially against a team like the U.S. Tullett, high blading pull. Mickle, zone from the Australians. Freistatter, open deep, trying to find the right hole.
I like the zone look here. I'd look to transition out of it quickly if that was the Australians.
Especially
get the pace variable and in your hands.
Quain, stuck, fakes hammer. Hart. Australia choosing to stay in the zone. Johnson wide open in the middle. Finding Freistatter on the sideline. Johnson. Freistatter not getting it off. Holding it, letting the Australian set. Hart hammers across field to Morrissey for the goal. USA takes half 9-7.
Morrissey making his presence on the field felt this afternoon. Hart with the hammer, Morrissey with the score, and the U.S. on top, 9-7, as we close out the first half of the semifinal matchup here at the U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada. We'll be back with you after a 10-minute halftime for the conclusion of this game.
And we're back here for the second half action of the U.S. Open semifinal here against Australia at U23 World Championships in Toronto, Canada. I'm Brian Jones here with Kevin Minderhout, and a word of thanks to our sponsors so far, Elemental Technologies, providing us the ability to stream these games live, providing encoding ability anywhere, anytime.
All at once.
Thank you, Kevin. So we get started here. Australia, the surprise, coming out in the first half, up 3-0 before our USA able to storm back. Australia really doing it in the hucks. And we'll see here out of the gate if they're able to continue that success. 5 cutters downfield in a 2-5 formation. 2 handlers back. Looking underneath.
Collision in the middle of the field. Allen looks like his foot got stepped on.
Throw going to go back. Australia really, squeezing these things into tight windows.
And they're going to need to have very good stack discipline in order to get back into this game, have a chance at the lead.
Delgado, Broad. No Tullett on the field. And Hart gets the D, but call. Not sure that he had stopped rotation, but we'll take a look here on the replay to see if we can.
Hart
review.
Is giving it to him.
That's a close one. Nonetheless, here we go. Broad. Underneath Wise. Wise putting it up to the break side. This one might stay in bounds. Nope. Gonna make a trip near the beer garden.
And Wise trying to give everybody a play on it.
Unable to make it sit in bounds. Toner trying to increase the U.S. lead.
And that's the kind of play that I'm talking about when you need to play within your own team. I'm sure that's not characteristic of the Australian team style, just to loft one up to the dead side. So you have to play 100% within your own team.
And stack almost all moving at once for the U.S. Toner finding Hart. Hart absorbing the contact. Toner also feeling the physicality as Allen holsters Olsen. Finding Toner. A lot of cutters moving at once for the U.S. They're having to stay very patient. Olsen, Hart up the line.
The wind gusting right now.
Olsen. Hart doing a good job here of directing traffic with his handlers, telling him what he wants. Going for the inside break, and a D from O gets it back for the Australians. Cleat on the field.
Toner losing his cleat. Calls injury. Walks off the field. Byron Leo taking his space. Toner apologizing to Hart for the turnover, taking the credit.
Coach saying, it's got to be you, Jimmy. It's going up. Hart reading the play. Gets back and up and over Delgado. Mickle to Olsen. Lou. Flip to Mickle. Hart. Back and forth. Allen busting. Hart looking deep for Justin Allen. Both players lay out. Australian defender was there. McCollum. Not sure if he made the play, but it made it more difficult of a catch for Justin Allen.
Great pressure by McCollum. The same thing happened over there, except in reverse, where McCollum was on offense, Allen on defense. Allen that time able to come away with it. Not sure what the call here is. Hart, I believe, calling foul because we're seeing the no contest 0 being held up by 23, Mark Delgado. Camp urging his team on from the sideline there behind.
Mickle tripped up on the up the line. Hart goes around to Lou. Back to Olsen, teammates out of Emory. Hart. Looking for Stubbs, now going back to Lou. John Stubbs, the younger brother of George, youngest man on this U23 squad. Mickle.
Mickle with the timeout. He's always good for 1 or 2 a game. His timeout is our timeout. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with you in a moment.
And we're back here in Toronto, Canada for the second half action of USA versus Australia here at the U23 World Championships, part of Next Gen Network's coverage. I'm Brian Jones with Kevin Minderhout coming out of a timeout. USA trying to break at the start of the second half, up 9-7. Mickle with the disc. Jimmy Mickle out of Colorado. He's had a fantastic tournament so far for the USA. One of the team leaders, team captains, and really he can do it all, but this tournament we've seen him primarily behind the disc.
Yes, that's correct. And Jimmy has a lot of abilities to play anywhere on the field. He started his career in college out as a handler, so very capable of doing that. He's such a strong player that having him behind the disc when the wind is like this is often a good thing, and that he can break through the power of the wind and get the disc deep, so opening up your field, giving you an option to go deep or shallow.
Timeout does not work for the U.S. They give it back to the Australians looking for Wickrama. Stubbs, flip to Broad. Broad with the goal. Australia holds. We were talking a little bit during the break how the USA offense just doesn't look like something up to their ability, and it may be with how many players are coming in and out of those defensive lines USA with a lot of depth, trying to get everybody play time, especially when they have the lead. Australia, though, able to bounce back here with Rickermud abroad for the goal.
Yeah, Brian, I think you really picked up on something in the U.S. offense, and they're having a little bit of trouble with consistency of who is going to do what right now. Coach Bob Cryer trying out a lot of different people. The line we've seen them start with each time is Freystadter, Mickle, Klein, Camp, Hart, Christian Johnson. Normally that group of guys is starting. You see here this offensive line, only 3 of the starting 7. Those starting 7 not getting it done early on in the game, getting broken 3 times. So Cryer opting to spread the wealth around, ask some of his other players to step up on offense. And this line, to me, looks a little bit short on handlers. Klein almost definitely is going to be anchoring whatever offense they come down with. We've seen them doing a lot of vertical. They do have a horizontal in their arsenal. But handlers 2 and 3, they don't have a go-to option there. You see Hart getting a little bit of work done on his foot. We'll get a report on him in a second. Right now, we're going to focus on this point. U.S. up 9, Australia 8. U.S. on offense going downwind.
Finding Klein. Zone from the Australians' camp. Klein. Underneath to Johnson. Camp. Moving around to Morrissey. Looking around for Klein. And one of the U19 players. Johnson. Looking for Frood. A drop gives it back to the Australians. And this is what we talked about in terms of counter-punching, not giving up.
Second drop by Frood in this game.
Stewart. Coach is employing the cutters to work, and Morrissey gets it back with the bid over the shoulder.
He's going to take an injury as he comes down on the right wrist. A little shaken up. Ginger with her right now. A much needed D by Morrissey. Looks like he must just jammed it really briefly there. Morrissey, one of the top defenders on this team, able to not only pressure his defenders but actually create Ds.
Laurie back in the handler position. Had a couple turnovers early in the game. Finding Klein. Laurie up the line. Hops in for the goal. USA able to hold at this point in time. 10-8. Morrissey really starting there, though, getting it back for the Team USA.
And interesting to see Morrissey was the number 2 handler on that line, joining Klein. Morrissey, one of those players that his exact identity is a little bit unclear. There we see Hart again, just getting his ankle taped up. Morrissey standing by, probably going to get a little bit of tape, a little work done on that right wrist. So the U.S. a little bit banged up right now, but plenty of reserves to step up and help out. As I was saying, Morrissey, kind of one of those players that has so much ability to do so many different things. He can fit in wherever you need him, but his greatest strength is what we just saw there on defense, coming through with the block when you most need it. Just making sure everything checks out fine with the trainer.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Tollett here for the Australians. He was one of the players to watch early on, one of the only players who could get offense going in the first matchup. Mostly playing D-line in the Australia role here on the offensive line. Delgado tipped in the air. Chodos overcommits. Just had to wait for it, a little over-anxious. McGinn back with Pruce.
That's the second time we've seen a player go up too early. Just lots of respect for the U.S. defenders and feeling the added pressure that I need to catch this one early and high or else I'm not going to have a shot at it.
Laurie finding Smith. It's going to be McGinn to Smith. Smith the around, now to Laurie. Fits the around into McGinn, the northwest connection. 11-8, USA starting to put some distance on the Australians.
Yeah, the U.S. coming into the second half. Little 2-1 run. Had that break earlier. And while they're not gearing up for the steamroll, they are getting into a pace that suits them and is going to allow them to slowly build this lead, come away with the victory potentially. If they do win this game and they don't pick up in this second half, they're going to want to watch the tape and sort out those kinks for the finals. Going to be against either Canada or Germany. We have that game coming up next on NGN. The wind, a moderate breeze right now. U.S. pulling downwind.
I think looking back to that injury from Morrissey, I wanted to point out a little small detail. Hector Valdivia calling the subs here. Bob Cryer, the head coach, says, hey, Hector, do you want Jimmy in? Hector, no, I want Laurie. Jimmy is the guy that you would normally call if it was a universe point situation or you needed somebody on there, but Laurie's had a couple of turnovers, and I think Hector's trying to make sure, get the depth of the roster, playing well, feeling confident, because not only that, you're going to feel pretty secure in the second half for the U.S. at the moment, getting your players ready for the next game, getting that confidence back for Laurie, I think will be very important. Right now we have Mazaret dishing it off. Two-man game for Australia. Tollett back on the offensive line.
Allen resetting. Mazaret disagreeing.
Stewart over the top for Mazaret. Makes the catch over Allen. Not to be confused with Justin Tom Allen out of Penn State. On the mark. Throws right into Toner, but a foul called on the play. Toner was hoping he had a gift. It restarts. Going deep for Tollett. Tollett has just been a monster thus far. Going deep for the Australians. Also had some great throws early in this game. Mazaret with the disc off the stoppage.
The U.S. needed to lock down their D. Play a very concentrated team effort here. Stop this Australian run upwind.
Trailing along the backside, and a drop from Australia gives it right back. Beautiful throw out to Andy Wood. He just can't reel it in.
And just enough pressure coming from Alexander for Wood to get distracted.
Allen busts under, puts it deep, looking for Wolf. Wolf, can he run it down? Laying out. A little bit of contact beforehand, but no foul called.
Chuk Lee with the extra speed, forcing the issue, and Wolf bidding, not succeeding this time. Australia another chance to go the full length of the field. A critical possession here. If the Australians want a chance at this game, they want to keep it within this 3-point margin right now and chip away.
Stewart, Australians in their own end zone. Tollett. Looking back for Stewart, fouled on the mark. No contest.
Just got an update on the cap situation. We're 11 minutes away from soft cap. So I'm upgrading this point from critical to terminal.
Wolf laying out, only one in the area besides Toner. We have a call on the play.
Yeah, the lifeline for Australia is going to be very short if they can't get this one in and go down by 4.
Toner tries to go over the top. Doesn't work out. Tollett just staring deep. Now looks underneath. Angelovich. Back for Stewart. Dishes to the around Alexander with a semi-late bid. Australia, though, doesn't mind the contact. This physical game here by both sides. Angelovich.
Inadvisable bid by Alexander there, opening up the dead side, and some free yards to the Australians. Unable to really take advantage of it, however.
Angelovich back. Tollett. Emerging from the Australian coaches, set up their cuts better. Tollett, the only one back, and we see a semblance of a vertical stack downfield. Tollett. Pick called downfield. Lou on giving chase. Tollett to Stewart. The around Tollett. Stewart. Inside Angelovich. Ashcroft started off this game with a goal. Reception from Tollett. Blocked by Allen. Gets the foot block. Toner stays on the ground. Had Allen busting deep. Holsters finding Tom Allen. Toner. Wolf wide open. Doesn't have to make the extra effort this time for the goal. 12-8. U.S. leads. Tom Allen on the other side getting congratulations for his teammates. One of the understated players. So we see Toner hit Wolf. Dylan Wolf out of BC.
Hard cap set to come on within 10 minutes. This game not going to go the full 17. We're going to have the cap again for those of you who just joined us, haven't watched one of our broadcasts already at this event. This game goes to 17 or there's a 100-minute soft cap. After that time, we'll finish the point. We'll add 2 to the highest point total, and we'll play the game out till then. Likely to cause a delay in the rest of our schedule. In fact, it already has. We're running late for the Germany-Canada semifinal, the other side of the bracket. A game that very much anticipated. Germany looking very strong throughout the tournament, pulling off the win against Japan yesterday. And Canada, another team, strong, talented, athletic. I only imagine a game where both teams are really attacking each other and close, competitive. That game going to happen on this field as soon as this one commences. That one initially scheduled for 1 will be moved back as necessary. The Australians in their timeout huddle, now 4 points back of the U.S. Very little room for error at this point. I think we saw them playing at their best in the first 3 points. They've only had 5 since then. Can they get back to that level? And they have to actually play at a whole new tier. They had 3 breaks at their best in this game, and the best we've seen them all tournament. They're going to have to get 4 to tie this one up. 3 breaks to tie this one up, 4 to take the lead. Do they have it in them? We'll see if the coach said the necessary words.
Australia off to the right start, but just unable to really hang here with the U.S. You talked about it earlier. They just didn't have the ability to keep up that type of game, and they had to be 100% perfect, and you can't be.
Well, it's not about 100% perfect, but 100% in your game. The Australians at moments have gotten away from their game, allowed the skill of the U.S. to pressure them into some decisions that they wouldn't normally make.
It's definitely a far cry from the game we saw earlier in the week where the Australians just were completely outmatched to the point where it was tough for them to get a single point on the board. Although it looks like here in the second half it's going to be the USA. It's one of those things where you can talk about the names on the paper, but when it comes down to making plays and confidence, that's why often the better team just wins. Nonetheless, Australia will try to mount the comeback. Chodos. Right side of the field. Zone from the U.S. 4 men around the disc. Australia working through the heart of the field. Wickrama. Back for Wise. Him and Delgado can collide or at least both go for it. The U.S. gets an easy gift just past midfield.
Too frantic by the Australian offense. Had 2 guys there miscommunicating. We haven't seen a lot of zone by the U.S. And they were in the midst of transitioning out of it. That's when you need to be the most calm and dissecting the transition.
Smith, Olsen, U.S. trying to cap this one out nicely, but they can't. Throw right into a poach, really behind the receiver. Broad picks up a D. Oh, Wickrama.
Australians still fighting for it. And the coach reiterating what he said earlier this game, set the tone.
Delgado and Bode taking physicality to another level, to say the least.
And setting a tone of his own. And that is a definitive message to his assignment all day. Low-key Wise. You're not going to get anything easy.
Kyle O with the disc off a stoppage. A little bit of rain starting to pick up. We may have thunderstorms in a few hours. It's going around to Wise. Bode marking far off. Chodos. Behind, but caught. Delgado. Wise. Flick around. Oh.
The pace of the game dragging on now. Not what the Australians want or need.
Bode is there to intercept the high release. Cruz, Bode, Laurie. Smith now. Looking up the line, putting it to the end zone. Caught by Frood for the goal. 13-8. USA leads. Rain starting to drizzle. This guide's Jimmy Leopard assisting the cameraman as we get prepared for the weather. USA with a 5-point lead. Trying to close this one out. We are close to soft cap. USA looks like they have this one in hand.
The rain coming in. We heard a little bit of thunder. If there's any lightning, this one will be delayed. And we are preparing for the incoming weather. Currently suffering a little exposure of our own.
But we will suffer on for the enjoyment of the crowd. USA leading again, 13-8 by 5. Soft cap looming. USA, though, in a commanding fashion, has taken over control of this game. Australia only scoring once in the second half.
And we've officially hit the time cap.
D by John Stubbs. The young man gets involved as the U.S. digs deep into their roster. Let's tell by the talent level they have that John Stubbs is one of the players not getting as much play time here for the United States. Lou goes up the line. Toner to Lou. Clap catch for the goal. 14-8. And we're in time cap, so they may be a game to 15. We will check on it.
We're getting confirmation on whether this game is going to go to 16 or if it will only go to 15.
The game to 16.
Game is to 16. Rain trickling in here. Australians now down 6. Haven't been able to get a lot of production going in the second half.
Umbrellas coming out in the stands. Our next matchup will be Canada versus Germany in the next Open semifinal. Tomorrow we'll have the finals from all 3 divisions. Adamatos getting it to Tollett. Nazare. Tollett. Hammer to Angelovic. Lori giving chase. Now looking underneath. Adamatos. Flip. Now looking back. Tollett. Adamatos to Tollett. Flip. No. Looks off Angelovic. High stall situation. Forced to go back. Bruce lays out. Adamatos comes up with it along the sideline. Adamatos, this checked in, looking for Tollett, scrambling, goes back. Allen giving chase on the mark. Tollett surveying, call. We have contact, maybe an injury, a shoulder injury. Shoulder been pulled out of its socket. Kyle Atkins, looks like this is something that's happened before, as he's almost like he was trying to put it back in. Trainer coming out.
We saw a late game injury last time these two teams met as well. That one, Ben Laurie and Stoddard making head-to-head contact. Stoddard was under close monitoring for several days, is doing okay. Not slated to return to this tournament.
Tollett fits this one into Wood. Australia not giving up, down 14-9. US needing to put in 2 more.
You've got to score to win. In this one, the U.S. 2 more. End the game. For those of you who are watching, looking for the Germany versus Canada semifinal, that game will happen after this. The first semifinal matchup in the women's division going extra long this morning. Everything else delayed.
Offensive line out for the United States. Team USA, Colin Camp out of Wisconsin, Christian Johnson out of UNC, dark side. Teammate Brian Hart of Colin Camp, also out of Wisconsin. Misha Freistadter, UCF, Central Florida. Mickle out of Colorado with teammate Morrissey. And then Josh Klein out of Minnesota. 14-9. U.S. just has to take care of business, and they will advance. Hart. Klein. Mickle in the middle of the field against an Australian zone. 3-man cup. Tollett lays out. Johnson to Camp. Freistadter. Johnson off to the races. Wide open. Right in front of the goal line. Could have milked that one for the goal. Johnson back to Mickle. Hart. Around, tipped. Looking for Klein. D by Andy Wood. Keeps Australia alive. Tollett. Communication here telling Jimmy Mickle to be ready for the deep throw. Crossfield, Blade, Mickle is there. Mickle finding Johnson, Morrissey in the back. Flips it, Morrissey. toes the line for the score. 15-9.
Some acrobatics by Morrissey. That wrist not bother him, got a little tape on it. Excited about that play. The U.S. 1 point away from the finals. Australians just finding them too much to handle. Unable to play the role of giant killer today. Pending a miracle comeback of nearly unseen proportions.
O-line out for Australia. Wickrama. And with Delgado. Chodos. As well as Wise and D-line trying to end this one for Team USA. Byron Liu out of Emory. Justin Allen out of App State. Kelson Alexander from Wisconsin. Ian Toner from Virginia. Matt Bode played for Pennsbury High School. Actually won the Easterns Championship with his high school squad. Jay Frood out of Missouri. And Dalton Smith out of Texas A&M. Oh, the center of a zone against the U.S. One deep back, Frood. Last time Australia able to hammer over the top. Wickrama. Looking back for Delgado. Inside, Broad comes up with it. Frood just there. Broad gets up, looks for the huck for the score. They're making it close, 15-10. The U.S. just has to come down and score one. And this one is all sealed up.
So that it stays.
It's more formality at this point. Liu barely missing the D. But the rules say you must score 16 before the game is over. See who Cryer puts out on the O-line when he wants to make sure it gets done. And it's the starting group. Brown, Hart, Johnson, Freistadter, Klein, Camp, and Mickle. The Australian fans try to urge their team on to at least one more point. At this point, that's all you can do is focus one at a time.
When it comes down to it, though, and you look at Australia's projected finish right now, the game's not yet over, but we think USA is going to have this one in the bag. Semifinal appearance, that's a great. You look in the. It's not always about winning for these countries. I mean, a lot of them would love to, obviously, but stature in the international community, it's something to go home and build on. Semifinal finish is nothing to hang your head at, especially where you were in pool play, how much of a difference this game was, even proving throughout the tournament.
Great performance by the Australians.
It's a lot of things when people go to watch college nationals in the United States, a lot of them only care about what Pittsburgh, Oregon, Carleton, Wisconsin are going to do. But when it comes down to it, for a lot of teams, those seasons aren't just about where you finish at nationals, but continuing to get there, to qualifying, to building on that.
You don't go from 0 to hero right away. It takes a program to establish consistent winning ways.
Mickle finishes it off, toes the line for the win. First time we've seen him go deep all day long, and he does so to cap it off. 16-10, USA wins, advances to the finals. We'll face the winner of Germany versus Team Canada. That game coming up next. Great effort by the USA, though, would take half 9-7 and would never look back. Australia only scoring 2 in the second half, and we'll take a short break. We'll be back here for the next Open semifinal. This is Next Gen Network's coverage of U23 World Championships.